Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Fuego here.
And we are here to finally complete the circle.
Minus
Susie, but we are going to go ahead and finish our review series with Critters Attack. And yes, that is a Blu-ray that you're seeing me hold up. It is a genuine Blu-ray. It has the back, and it's not only that, but it's got the Blu-ray and the regular copy. So yes, I did purchase this.
Like, do not look at the digital.
As much, well, hey, if someone's clever enough to do that, then go for it. Because I won't need it.
Toss it away.
I won't need it.
But you're such a completist, though, which is what's so funny, which is why we watch this.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I had to get the damn thing, because I am such a completist. And while I will say that it's better than Critters A New Binge, which was just a separate movie that they broke up into 8 12-minute parts, this one was just...
in some ways, it was better.
It was better in some way. No, I mean, it was better in almost every way, honestly. I mean, it was the same Critters ball. They obviously shared the Critters ball because it was the exact same. But everything else was... At least it seemed like they were focusing on telling a cohesive, filmic narrative. You know, as opposed to just the cheesiness that the last one was. The New Binge was so bad, and they abandoned everything that they went to there. This was a continuation of the original Critters continuity, at least from what we can ascertain.
It's almost like a rebequel, which is what it really boiled down to.
Right.
So you don't really have like bounty hunters or anything like the original, but
you do, but kind of not the same. Not space
without
bounty
spoiling.
hunters.
Yeah. And there is still like implied links to the previous film, so it is very much rebequel, like the phrase that you came up with. But I have to say, like, man, whereas Critters New Binge was just so dumb, it was actually entertaining in certain aspects, especially with those last couple episodes with like, oh man, the fact that the kid was the critter and all this horrible, stupid stuff, and the banging critters, and I mean, there was some stuff that was so dumb. I was just like, my God. In this, I couldn't overlook how bad it was because it wasn't so bad. It was funny at times. It was just bad.
Yeah.
And that's where I can at least,
Relax,
you know,
phone. All right.
Come on, phone.
Sorry.
And, but I don't know. I did at least appreciate the fact that in this film, as far as overall impressions, because I'm assuming that's what we're kind of doing right now. I did like the fact that I felt like they made the critters seem more fearsome and less silly in this. You did see that they were chewing on people, and there was a little bit of decent gore and stuff, and we can touch on that, you know, once we get to effects and, you know, creature design or whatever else. But overall, I hated the story of our main character, Ms. Washington, who I know had a lot of buzz a few years ago after doing something that was on it was either Can or SXSW. I don't know.
This was the wrong movie to follow it up with.
Tashiana Washington, I want to say her name is, and you know, she wasn't particularly bad, but her role was not very well defined, and there was very, very little interesting going on with her and the, you know, deceased mother and wanting to get to college. The whole story with her just felt unnecessarily just kind of hokey and just kind
stuff we've seen before in Dangerous Minds and so many other movies.
Yeah, and just very poorly executed here, and really just not at home in the Critters universe for me. And so, I mean, all of the story with like her being a babysitter and all that stuff was bad, but I did like a lot of the critter action and them chewing on different people and all the stupid scenes that we saw with them. So that's where I found fun with this. So
I agree. I think overall it was definitely better than A New Binge, but overall it's still a disappointing package. They didn't have the critters talking so much like they did in A New Binge, which is nice.
Subtitle.
Actually, there was no critters talking at all in this one.
Yeah, I was going to say, not in this
So I like that, and I like that the critters were, again, trying to be played for scares. Although there were times where it was funny because there were just so many of them rolling around.
There was a ton of them in this one.
Yeah, there was a ton of them, and they added a new mechanic where it seems like if the critters eat you, then you birth like 3 new critters out of the chest, like facehuggers.
It was almost an Alien type thing where they were like gestating in.
It's so weird, and that's how they reproduce so fast. And it's like, oh well, if that's what you're giving, like, then how come that didn't happen in any of the other movies? It's a weird precedent to set now. And
there was also the good albino
that's another weird. Yeah, there was a female critter that was albino with white hair with black streaks, and she was good. And apparently, like, they give an explanation to it by the end of the movie that's just super silly as the rest of the movie. It makes as little sense as everything else.
Just grazes through so much stuff as far as explanation goes for whatever reason.
Yeah, so I guess overall I was not a big fan of this, although it was better than a new binge. So the story is critters once again land in rural America. Apparently the critters in Critters 4 weren't the last critters, even though we were led to believe that. So critters land, and a bunch of kids are being babysat by this girl played by, what is it?
Tashiana
Washington. I was going to say Tatiana, but it's Tashiana.
Yep.
Washington.
I'm at least pretty sure.
No, I think you're right. You're right. I remember seeing that credit. I was like, oh, that's definitely the main girl. So it's not.
She has her little brother who has the crush on the Ava Preston girl who was fantastic.
Much better.
Fantastic earlier this year in I'll Take Your Dead.
I'll Take Your Dead, which
one
the
of my
Blu-ray I
favorite
actually
movies.
got over there. I went ahead and picked it up.
Nice, you should have.
From Best Buy for $17.99, I think. But it was
one of my favorite
so worth it. I
movies
wanted to
of
contribute
this
to that
entire
movie because it was
year. She's
fantastic.
So terrific. She's
absolutely.
This is like a goofy, galumping kind of role. She has
really
a younger
was.
brother.
She didn't get to stretch her talents, and she was still the best on screen at any given moment.
Truly.
But it just wasn't a good enough story to justify her presence, even at this point in her career, to be honest with you.
And she has a younger brother who only communicates through text message.
And that's so stupid. So heavy-handed, so stupid, so dumb, so nonsensical, so not rewarded by the end of the movie.
The scene where I was just like, what is Scott Lobdell doing? And people can say all they
Scott
want.
Lobdell,
all that they want about Scott Lobdell writing the story.
Writer and other things.
Happy Death Day. Actually.
Yeah, he wrote Happy Death Day.
Yeah,
unfortunately, he has some stigma attached to him, which we won't go into.
He's got a lot of negativity. But the scene where I was just sitting there, where she first arrives to babysit them, and she is like, "Let's play a game. Do you guys want?" And just I felt as bored and uncomfortable as the kids there. And she's like, what card game or charades or whatever, and then they're like, "Let's just go for a picnic," and you're just like, "Oh my god." Who wrote this, Scott? Come on, man. Were you?
Yeah, the writing was really rough at times. Really rough at times.
Insanely, in fact. And they tried to make the sappiness be there, and it didn't always go down properly. I mean, there was the occasional bit where she like pulls down, in her beat up car, and yet she's working at a sushi place, and it was just
not good.
Man,
it's just
really,
not good.
Really not good. But there were some fun beats with critters chewing on people, which is what brings you and me to these films at the end of the day.
Indeed, but we're not quite there yet. Let's talk about the acting. The acting is rough. The acting is rough. The acting is rough.
Yes.
Dee Wallace lends a little bit of gravitas in the moments that she's in, but those are few and far between, and they could have been shot on their own in a day.
They just might have been.
Yeah, there's very little going on with Dee's character, unfortunately, and they don't even. They reference to her
much.
One time. They reference her name, and I didn't even care to look up if it was the same name. She has to be the same character from the first movie.
Well, they imply that she is, but then they call her. Then
they call her.
She says
she's Aunt Dee, and she's a bounty hunter, and it's like I don't understand.
Yeah, she's breaking out the big weapons and stuff like that, and she's like kind of putting the Tatiana girl under her wing.
Tashiana.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that's what she told. Well, that's what you said when I said Tatiana.
I did. Yeah, I totally effed it up. Yeah.
So yeah, it's okay.
Part.
So the acting is nothing to write home about, guys. Let's jump in. I mean, the cinematography is nothing to write home about either. The cinematography is still kind of cheesy.
It is done by the Sci-Fi Channel, and originally I think it was supposed to broadcast on their network, and presumably it still will. But they just decided to go at the forefront with a home release. Blu-ray. DVD. I got it at Redbox, watched it for $1.75. Yeah, exactly.
Until it's $2 in 4 months.
It'll probably be there pretty soon.
Yeah.
But I got those 16 free rentals.
Ooh, braggadocious.
I know.
All right. Well, yeah. So let's get into the effects. The critters themselves, I like the critters way more than the ones in A New Binge.
Totally appreciate.
They look way better.
And they were bigger.
They were way bigger. Yeah, they're supposed to be bigger. They're supposed to be this size. The critters are not entirely small. They're smaller than most things, but the critters themselves can be big bastards. Yeah. Yeah, or bigger even. Like the big ones are even bigger than that.
And we saw them in A New Binge. They were like kind of like
they were teeny tiny. Yeah, they were like little piranhas. But no, these, an entire critter can eat the side of your face if it's, one of the larger ones.
And it does kind of happen. There is some legit chewing as we will, kind of develop into that more in
so it's all
seconds of discussion.
It's all practical. I'm not sure if all the rolling critters were all practical. Some of those might have been CG, but for the most part, I think it was all practical as far as the critters go. So I like that.
It was R-rated, I have to say.
It was. There was a lot of gore.
Yeah, and I guess a New Binge being a television series probably didn't even get a rating distinction for that,
Yeah.
for that reasoning. Although, would it have been R-rated? I don't know.
It probably would have been, but barely.
But with the weird sex and stuff in that one, I don't know. Those themes are not present here. It's basically a core of kids that you're following throughout, and so nothing that's gonna compromise them too very much. But I don't know, the sleepy town where everything's filmed at, and then all of the stuff at this prestigious college that she's trying so desperately to get into, and she's like,
the story is rough.
The story's really rough.
Yeah, the more we talk about it, the more I'm not liking it.
I hated it.
I was justifying my purchase yesterday.
Hated the story.
It was really bad.
Much. It was the
but at least the critters were good. The gore was good. I mean, the soundtrack is nothing to speak of because it didn't really stand out to me. But I guess it's okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to belabor this. This movie is not what Critters it can be, but it's better than what we got in a New Binge at the very least. Yeah,
directed by Bobby Miller, and that's where I'm just kind of curious because of the fact that he's married to the Star versus the Forces of Evil chick, and both of them out in LA and doing their own thing and whatnot. But he was saying that he drew inspiration from the Jim Henson Company, and he was so adamant about practical and all this other stuff, and sci-fi gave him freedoms and whatnot, and they still have other entries presumably planned because the Sci-Fi Channel has a deal where they're gonna make more of these. I don't know how the New Binge fits into that format.
I hope not at all.
And stuff.
I hope we ditch the New Binge entirely.
The New Binge had tons of CGI with some of that weird stuff
terrible.
with like the teeth and the eyes on that human character and whatnot.
I'm not in it.
At the end of the day, I would still watch either of the first 4 Critters movies as opposed to this or the New Binge. But this was a little bit better in some aspects, and yet, I don't know, there was some just bonkers stupidity. If I was like, I don't know, really blazed or something, that I would have found merit in a New Binge that I wouldn't have found in this. So, I don't know, pick your poison in this instance, but neither were very good. Sorry, Critters fans. We did not see the sort of like renaissance many of us had hoped for.
No. So let's call it there. Why don't you guys let us know in the comments down below, are you interested at all in seeing Critters attack? If not, I can't blame you. If so, I warn you heavily. So but let us know what your thoughts are in those comments down below. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias a Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.